Good afternoon. How you doing? My name is Chrome, and this is Prospect Magazine TV. Been trying to bring you an international view and outlook on this whole motorcycle thing. And today's guest is like, I can't believe that this man even talked to me. Anyway, today's guest, we have Caius Tenche, and he's the founder and creator of the Toronto Motorcycle Film Festival, also a company called Gearbox. This man is like, is words I love movies. I love movies, and it is very unfortunate that we don't have many filmmakers that want to do movies on motorcycles. But this man is here in Toronto, and he has a film festival, which is amazing. And I was had the privilege of going to some of his events, and I learned a lot about this culture and how many people around the world like motorcycles. It's fantastic. For my American viewers that know anything about it, he's going to explain to you what his whole program is about. And I was so happy to have him on my show. And music and movies and motorcycles is my three favorite things, my favorite pastimes. I love films, and watching his films and people subscribing from all the world sending their films to him. It's unfortunate that we got COVID and you guys can't get across the border to catch some of these films, but they're great films. Further ado, let's bring him on. Caius, let's bring him on. And we're gonna find out more about him, why he started this, and why he did this. So let's bring him on. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, Aaron?
Yeah, so tell me something, man. Like, where this all started? Because your background is in banking or something. How
Yeah, it was.
did this all start for you?
uh, okay, well, I guess it all started. I don't know. It's hard to look back and figure out exactly how it all tied together. But let me start by saying that I've always been really in love with the arts. So
Okay.
we'll start there. Been going to the theater a lot, like musical theater, operas, dance. I like all kinds of music. So always been into the arts. I've also always really liked cars and things that go fast. Even used to like do amateur racing of some sorts for a period. Always liked motorcycles, but never had one until one day, literally like a light bulb. I'm like, I think I want to get a motorcycle. And it was just like that. And then I was super focused on, everything I needed to do to get the motorcycle, like get my license, figure out what kind of bike and all that. And I fell in love with it right away. Like there was just something magical about it. But when this happened, like this light bulb idea, it was in the middle of winter, and there was no way to go test ride anything, right? But I was craving knowledge, so I wanted to get as much info as I could about motorcycles and that riding experience. And so I went online and I started finding stuff, on YouTube, right? And that's where I stumbled across people that were making motorcycle movies, like little shorts. And some of them were amazing, like really beautifully told stories, incredible cinematography. And like it went beyond the motorcycle. It was about the people, the person that was riding it. And so I started searching for more and more of that type of content. And then I came across the fact that there was a motorcycle film festival in New York, in Brooklyn. I thought, wow, that must be amazing. Now, I've been to other film festivals before, so I knew what that experience was like. But I thought that must be amazing to be, in this room with other guys and gals that are into like motorcycles and have this experience. I want that. So I started looking to see if there was something like that in Toronto. I thought for sure that there was going to be, and there wasn't. And then that sort of desire to like go to one of these events, it was just sort of like stuck in me, and it was at the back of my mind. And probably like a couple of years after that, I finally said, since there isn't an event like this in Toronto, I'm just going to put it on. And that's really how it started.
No, that's amazing, that you did that because, I've always said this in the early 90s when I moved to Toronto, I didn't find anybody who rode motorcycles, especially I rode a Harley
Mm,
Davidson. And there wasn't really a motorcycle community here. And then I had to understand the make
right.
of this in the city, because in the city to me is, they have a hot rod culture here in Canada, but it's usually in the smaller towns that's around that who followed American traditions maybe since the 50s. In the city is mostly people that are from other countries, and I think that's why there wasn't a big hot rod community here, because they're from other countries and mostly been here no more than 50, 60 years. And hot rod culture is probably not in the countries they come from. I think
Right.
it has a lot to do with it. But I was even shocked when I found out that you had this film festival, because a friend told me, and
Mm.
I came to and watched one of your films, and that was what surprised me was the diversity in the films that you had. I go, man, you don't seem like you've been doing this only 3 years. You seem like you're like a veteran at this. You were made to do this. So tell me a little bit more about it. How you selected the films that you made? Because I know one of them was some friends of mine from Detroit called Outcast, and you
Mhm.
had a document. You did that film there. Tell me a little bit more about how you select films and how did they contact you?
So, looking back again, like I wonder, like what really drove me to this, because I knew nobody in the motorcycle community in Toronto or anywhere for that matter knew nothing about films, other than I enjoyed them a lot. Knew nothing about putting on a film festival, but I've always been like a go-getter guy, like figure out how stuff is. Like I'm very agile on my own. I can, I'll do a ton of research and just keep trying different things until I figure it out. So that's how I just sort of approached it. In terms of like connecting with the filmmakers, it was just a ton of time that I spent on Google looking at and searching for people that were creating these types of content, and then just connecting with them, whether it was like on Instagram or Facebook, or if I was lucky to find their email, and just say, hey, my name's Caius. I want to put this together. This is going to be our first year. Would you be interested in, participating? And that's how it really started. And now, like we're heading into our fifth year, and the film festival is pretty well known, like across the world. So I still reach out for sure. That's a big part. But we are also just getting submissions in because the word is spread about the festival. In terms of selecting the films, uh, I watch a lot. Like usually we get about 60 submissions every year, and from there I'll pick about 20 to fill the weekend. And so I watch a lot, and I try to select movies that resonate with me, that mean something to me. It's got to have a great story. Of course, it's got to be like beautifully told in terms of cinematography, audio, like all of that stuff is the production quality side of it. That's a given. That's got to be there, but it's got to be a great story. And it's got to be more than just people riding around on motorcycles. I'm really looking for like a human story. And I love getting movies like from all over the world, seeing how different people, how the motorcycle impacts their life, what role it plays in their life. It's eye-opening sometimes, and I love learning about different cultures. And sometimes it's amazing to see that these motorcyclists who are, tens of thousands of kilometers away from us, how very similar they are to us. And sometimes it's like, wow, their experience with motorcycling is so different than mine. For mine, it's a pleasure thing. For them, it's like a way of earning a living, putting a roof over their head, right? So I love getting exposure to that. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I
Yeah,
look
you
for a
did.
film that like resonates with me, in my heart.
I always said in a few of my podcasts that, motorcycles, period, even in Canada and the US, that I've never ridden motorcycles in other countries. I've been to other countries, but I've never ridden a motorcycle there. And I think it transcends everything. You might look at a person that you might have nothing in common with them, but their love for the motorcycles on a whole different page. Okay, so how is this like? You answered my next question already. I was going to ask you how much the Toronto Motorcycle Film Festival has grown, and is it still growing? I know COVID has put a little bit of a pause on everything, but has it done it to you? And because right now you can't really show films. Or how are you doing that? Are you doing things online? Are you putting together to show? Tell me how you're doing things now today.
Yeah, so definitely we've been impacted by COVID. last year in March, so geez, we're coming up to a year now. Pretty much the world shut down and theaters shut down. And outside of a little period in the summer where the big chains like Cineplex opened up, the smaller theaters, the ones where we normally have our festival, never did. And so they've been shut down for, a year now. So definitely it impacted us. And, we used to have like events outdoors sometimes. And of course, at the film festival, we had like 250 people packed into the theater. Can't do that now. And last year, I was debating like, what are we going to do? Some of the other motorcycle film festivals around the world, they didn't proceed at all. They shut down for that year. And so that I was thinking about that as well, if I'm being honest. And then sort of was hoping that maybe things would get better by the summer, by the fall. They never did. So I also started looking at ways to continue the festival online, though. And ultimately, that's what we did. We held a festival online for 10 days, which was great because it allowed people from Toronto to still tune in and watch some of these new awesome movies that were being produced. But it also brought in people from outside Toronto, like people from across Canada, some from the US, some from Europe. So that was great too. So yeah, the festival's growing. It's like a slow and steady growth. It's not like booming or anything like that.
Well, you've been around 3 years, and that's not enough time. I give it, 10, 15 years, then you'll be like Sundance or the, Toronto Film Festival. But anyway, some of the things I wanted to ask you, like you're just a multi-talented man, and I was reading your bio, and we met a few times over there just in the bike set. And you even did like the layout for the Toronto Motorcycle Show. I didn't even know that. Like this man is doing everything has to do with motorcycles, and it's so good that that the motorcycle community's accepted you, even though you've been writing on it. How long have you been writing? Did you just start writing? I know.
I'm coming up to 7 years, I think.
Yeah, but you injected yourself in this like you've been around for 20 or 30 years. Like everything you're doing, I've seen that reading your background, everything in motorcycles in Toronto, that somewhere your hands touch something. Yeah, and which is good.
Sometimes, yeah.
You made everything better.
Oh, thank you.
You made everything better. You cleaned up everything. It was kind of like, kind of trashy looking 15 years ago. If you read anything, you go, what the hell is this? It's okay, they have the naked girl in the front picture of the bike and a bad naked girl. You just done things so classy. Everything you did, you make the whole thing look a lot classier. I must admit. And I didn't know that until I started reading this stuff about you. I go, wow. And then I talked to a friend, Dan Lim, and he's a friend of mine. And actually, we did a show with him last week, and it was good. It's so many things that I love. Like I said, I love movies, and I love movies. So tell me, what is your favorite motorcycle movie? I know you have to have one. I know you've seen everybody's, but what is one of your favorite, or maybe two? Give me two. So you don't cheat anybody. So anybody be pissed off anybody.
Honestly, I get this question often, but I don't really have a great answer. I don't know if I can say that there's one in particular, honestly. There's a few that I like for different things. So maybe if you'll allow me, I'll name a couple. One of them was this movie called Wayne, and it was about a MotoGP champion, Wayne Gardner, who, like, I don't follow MotoGP. And, when we got the movie, I had no idea who Wayne Gardner was. I mean, this guy's like won world championship. I had no idea. I was, stupid about that. So I wasn't really looking forward to watching the movie. I thought it was going to be a lot of racing action, which is nice, but this movie was not. It was so good. Like it was a 2-hour movie that to me went by in like 5 minutes. So it grabbed me from the beginning, like just an amazing story about his life. So I love that. Another movie was about this movie called Blennio, Utah. So Blennio is this small 800-person town in Switzerland, and Utah is, well, Utah. Right. So this guy in this 800-person town, he's a butcher. He, for some reason, gets really hooked on Bonneville salt flats and setting a land speed record there. Like he connects with that for some reason and he wants to do it. He wants to go there and set a land speed record. Problem, he doesn't ride a motorcycle. And then how are you going to do that, right? Yeah. But so that's the movie. It's his story, and he goes and he ultimately does go set a record. But it was awesome. It was like this humble little story. There were tears there. It was very emotional, especially at the end when he sets it. Then he goes back to his like little village, and they're all waiting for him and cheering him on. It was an awesome story. So I love that one a lot. And then there was this other movie that I liked a lot. I still do. One of my favorites called I Hate Ladies. It's a weird title, but it was a movie, a short film, about 15 minutes long or so, that was put together by three ladies as part of their school project. So they're film students and they worked on it together. And in this movie, they went to and now, I'm worried that I'm going to say the wrong country, but I'm going to say Uganda, I think, if I remember correctly. And gee, I hope I got it right. Apologies whoever watches if I missed it. But I think it was Uganda. And so in Uganda, they have these motorcycle taxis called boda bodas. And she was the only female motorcycle taxi rider. And the reason why it was called I Hate Ladies is because she had to sort of cover up the fact that she was a woman. Like it just wasn't accepted. They even interviewed some people saying women, they can't ride motorcycles. Like it's not for them, right? So everything was stacked up against her. And nevertheless, over a period of time, she ended up having multiple motorcycles, people that worked for her, and it allowed her to buy land, build a home, and look after her kids, all through the power of the motorcycle. So that was a beautiful story for me that I liked a lot. So those are just three, but honestly, it's hard to pick.
Yeah, well, great films is like, you love, obviously you're like me, and I watch a film, I always like great stories. And the two things that make a good film for me is great to tell a story is great, a story and cinematography. That's two things that me. His first time, I used to always sit and watch a movie, and if the story was shitty or it was shot bad, I couldn't watch the rest of it.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe it's the artist in me because I'm an artist also. And I said, okay, the story, what's the story about? Okay. This is shot bad. I can't watch the rest of it. So filmmakers out there, that's one of the things to get in your thing. There's two things they need to concentrate on. But the story is about motorcycle. Motorcycle transcends so many things, and I try to explain that to people. I know it's just funny, but in the U.S., they have a thing called the urban set, which is the inner city motorcycle clubs, whatever you want to call it. And they have clubs where guys don't even ride motorcycles. That's the weirdest shit I've ever heard
Really?
of. Yes. I think they like the culture so much, but they have a problem actually riding the bike. Right. And to be in any kind of motorcycle organization, you have to love to have that win in your face. You have to have that win in your face. It's on a whole nother level that, it just tells the whole story better. I always say this to people. Somebody asked me about riding motorcycles. I say, every time I ride my bike and I'm traveling somewhere, I feel like I'm looking at a movie. I just feel like a movie. The difference between looking at a movie, you're fucking in it.
Yeah.
Like you're in the movie. And somebody thought that was so weird when I said it. I go, yes, I've traveled places. I was riding to Mississippi or something. It was so beautiful down in the South. I said, fuck, I feel like this is like I'm watching a movie. This is so beautiful. But the problem is I look at my mirrors and then I'm in the movie. It seems like, right. And I wish I can put a camera around me to tape all this shit, but really you can't.
So it's so hard to convey that feeling to other people. Like we use these words, like you were saying, but it's like not even good enough to explain that experience. It's so hard.
It's not. You can't really explain it. I have my clients. Say, why do you ride a motorcycle? It's so dangerous. It's this. I go, I didn't even see the danger factor, and that's the way I'm gonna die. God be with me. I'm sorry. So you're a local Torontonian, and tell me what is that like growing up in Toronto? Were you around a lot of bikes when you were younger? Because you started this whole thing later.
Actually, so I'm originally from Romania. Like I was born in Romania, and then we moved here. I was 9 years old, and at the time there was no Romanian community at all. So I had to like assimilate really quickly. Growing up with a name like Caius, believe me, was not a fun thing. Now it's probably not a big deal, but at the time it was not fun. Um, so I wasn't I think I just grew up like any normal kid, like in the city. We did like have this neighbor in the building that we were living who was a motorcycle racer. So he like brought his motorcycle right up into his apartment. Somehow I don't know how he got it in the elevator and up into his room, but so he had two boys, and I remember a couple of times he took us out to Mosport, to the racetrack, to go watch races. And that was probably the first time I got sort of like this hit of adrenaline from, seeing the speed and the racing. And that stuck with me. And I've followed like racing ever since then. But growing up, what's that?
So growing up, the question is because I have guys in my club that start riding to 40 years old.
Right? Yeah, same here.
And what takes you guys so long? Because I've been riding since I was 9 years old, and then
I don't know.
I had pauses, my career, and I had a family, and I stopped for a while, and I didn't have the money to buy a motorcycle. My kids were little, and you got to put your kids to college and all that shit. But I always put a couple of dollars away in a little piggy bank to have my own thing, right? So I've been riding most of my adult life. Like I only went through maybe a 3-year pause without having a motorcycle, and it freaking killed me. It killed me. I see a motorcycle, I drive in my car, I just look the other way. I just want to see it, and I was able to buy one. And I bought them cheap and worked on them and made them look nice, and that's what I did. A lot of guys, and I think this too is that Torontonian thing. A lot of these guys start this really late at 40 and 45, because I got guys in my club, like I say, they're in the 40s and they start around 40. Maybe that's a financial thing.
I don't know what it was. I don't think it was a financial thing, to be honest with you. It's not like, I became 40 and all of a sudden I had this like extra income lying around. Right. I didn't. I don't know. Like I wish I would have started earlier. I wish I would have started in my 20s. I don't know what it took me so long to get here. And I don't know, like, honestly, when I say to you that it was like a light switch moment, it's true. I was flipping through a magazine and there was an ad for a motorcycle, and it was instant. It was like, I should get a motorcycle license, just like that. I cannot explain it. I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't think about it before. I wish I would have.
Well, I have a female friend who got divorced, and she's my good friend, and she got divorced, and she called me up and says, "Guess where I'm at?" And I go, "Where are you?" She goes, "I'm at the Harley Davidson dealership." And I go, "Why?" She goes, "I just bought a bike." And you don't have a license or anything. She goes, "I always wanted to do this, but my husband was totally against it. We got divorced. As soon as we get the paper wasn't even dry yet. I went to Harley Davidson. I said, "Well, you don't even know how to ride a motorcycle." She said, "Well, you're going to teach me." So actually I did. I took her to a parking lot, and she sat in the front, I was sat in the back, and I taught her how to ride. And she's one of my really good friends, and we travel. And she's like crazy. She's been to Italy riding motorcycles. And she said to me, she goes, "I just don't know why I didn't start this." And now she's in her 50s. Yeah. "I just don't know why I didn't start this earlier." I said, "Because you're letting other people tell you, either it's your parents or your mother telling you not to do it, or a husband or wife telling you not to do it. So in this, you only got one life. Do what the fuck you need to do to make yourself happy."
Absolutely.
So let me ask you, so where do you see all this going to? Where do you see all this going? I think this is a beautiful thing with the motorcycle thing. We just need to, you and I and all of our friends in our social circle, we need to work on this to make this all bigger and better. I'm here to support you 110%, because I love what you're doing, man. I love motorcycles so much. All the other fuckery going on in the world, but politicians fighting. Dude, the only thing I wake up and makes me happy when I see it and I read some stuff about a guy like you and what you're doing.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
My friends in the US who have motorcycle clubs who are doing something great, trying to save some lives, keep some guys out of trouble, and put them on a path to righteousness. So what else do you think you need to do to make this to make this better, or to get people here to see what you're doing, or just start a trend through the U.S. and every state should have a motorcycle?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things. One of them, one challenge that I have is getting people aware of the fact that there's even such a thing as a motorcycle movie. Like you tell people about a motorcycle movie and they go, "Oh, Easy Rider or World's Fastest Indian." Awesome. But there's so many more choices, like stuff that's being produced today. So opening up people's minds about that is a challenge. And then there's a little bit of problem even in the naming of it, like to call it a motorcycle film festival. True. It's not about the motorcycle. It's about the people, their stories, their
Yeah,
challenges, their adventures. Like anybody could relate to these movies. If you're a biker, you'll relate to them on another level because you'll probably have had a similar experience. But even if you're not a biker, these are good stories. They're good human stories. So one of the challenges, how do you get that message across to people? So I'd love, for the film festival to grow, even wider, bring in a wider audience. And then the other thing is, if you remember a couple of years ago, Aaron, I was working, we put together this gallery exhibit where we had contemporary art
okay.
with custom motorcycles. Do you remember that? You came to
Of
that?
course, I was there. Yeah.
Yeah, that I love that. That was awesome. Like we mixed these two worlds of motorcycles and art, and then the people that showed up were people from the motorcycle community, but also just walkers by, from the street. Like they came in to see, hey, what's happening over here? Like that was an awesome evening. So that incorporation of art and culture and motorcycles, and that was magic for me. So I'd love to do more of that. There's so many more avenues that we could explore and mix and match our motorcycle culture with other things.
It's funny because that event, I invited some people who didn't even ride motorcycles, and they were like blown away. I had
Yeah,
some
it was
friends,
awesome,
what
man.
are you doing today? Well, I'm going to this thing, and I kind of sent some invitation to them. Like I tried to support you and my other friend Dan Lamb and everything you guys have been doing, and I try to even invite some of my clients that's conservative people, don't ride motorcycles, don't own a
Mhm.
motorcycle, and a few of them came to it, and I got emails, and they said that was one of the most fun events I've ever been. I didn't know anything about this
Fantastic.
because motorcycle riding is more than just the motorcycle. It's a
Yeah.
lot more to it. And I always try to explain it to people. It's a lot more to it. And I'm glad that you and your platform is able to show a different light on all this. Now, I know you have small kids. Do you ride your kids ride motorcycles? Are they interested?
Uh, so I have two kids, a daughter who's 16 and a little guy who's 8.
Okay.
My little guy, yeah, I mean, he likes it. I haven't taken him on it yet. I don't feel comfortable doing that. My daughter, I took her around just our neighborhood here on our block, and she likes it. She's talked about, getting a license. I was like, okay, hang on a second.
Your daughters are crazy like their fathers, right? They want to be
Yeah,
just, you
yeah,
have to tell them, you can't tell them they're a girl, they can't do it. That's not
yeah,
good either. But the thing is, I have two sons and they don't like motorcycles. That's like my
How
brothers,
is that?
my family in the U.S. We all drove Harleys since the 60s, 50s, 70s. That's part of our culture. My two sons, they don't like motorcycles. They like
How come?
I have no idea. They
Hmm.
just like, Dad, I want a Corvette. They like cars. They think it's cars. They don't get the whole motorcycle thing. It's just, I don't know, maybe mad at me. I don't really know. But the thing is, they just don't like motorcycles.
Maybe they will when they're 40.
Yeah, the one son is 31, the other one's 27, and yeah,
Okay,
because it takes maybe some time for that.
maybe.
Yeah, and another thing, there's a few things I wanted to ask you. Like, you creative director of what is Gearbox? Explain Gearbox to me.
It's a marketing consultancy. So that's focused on connecting customers with the business via brand experiences. So it's events, it's from on the big side, it could be like events, like the gallery exhibit, or maybe like a booth at a motorcycle show or something like that, as an example, to very small things like in the way that customers interact with businesses via a website. So it spans that whole gamut. So it's a marketing consultancy.
So, Mark, I was reading that too, and me and a friend of mine, he was here last night, and we trying going over your whole everything. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, man, this man is involved in all kind of shit. Like I don't even know what questions to ask him, or what conversation we have about it. But the main conversation is that you love motorcycles and you
Mm-hmm.
promoting this culture and this thing. And I always say this in all my commentaries, that I don't understand why nobody else is doing this. I played golf. I did all that stuff, and I'm thinking, it says I always go back to riding motorcycles and motorcycle culture. For everything I've ever done, I always go back to this. Like I said, this is the only thing I think is more fulfilling. I met some of the coolest freaking people you ever possibly want to met, because
Yeah.
I never really met anybody I disliked that rode a motorcycle. I haven't. And I'm a little bit older than you. I'm in my 60s, and I've been doing this for 40 something years. Ever since I was a kid, I look at it like this. I started riding Harley Davidson motorcycles in 1980. That's all. That's since then, and then moving
Oh.
to Canada was a whole different culture here.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see women or anybody riding it not till the last 15 years. Women and people of color and Asians and everybody else got involved in all of this. And what you're doing with your film is inviting everybody to the party, because a lot of people don't know they should be riding this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, because, like I say, I said this in my one commentary. I said a lot of people from a lot of other countries see the hot rod community, and there's no media to show that pictures of them showing they belong in this, because the magazines and everything they see is middle-aged white guys with bellies and beards.
Yeah.
And then if you're a woman or a man of color, Asian, black, or whatever, you don't see anybody looks like you in it. Your film is telling everybody something, and teaching them.
So yeah, that's something else actually that I look for, like intentionally. Like I want to show as much diversity as possible. Like I don't want to show the same story over and over. It's got to be different people. Like that's what makes for me Toronto so awesome, is that we have so many different cultures here. Benefit of that, I get to eat all this freaking amazing food from all of these different places. I love that, right? So our movies should be like that too. Like it shouldn't just be about a thing. Like there's so many different experiences, so many different cultures. I enjoy learning about that, and their experiences. So yeah, I want the stories to be as diverse as possible, all parts of the world.
That's what I learned about you. And trust me, before I even called you, I thought about it when I started this podcast, and I always in the intro, I always say that this is the inclusionary, everybody, international podcast, not just one way of thinking.
Mm.
I had a whole list of people, and then I thought about you, and I said, well, I don't know if he would come on my show and talk about it, because what you see on social media and stuff like that is I'm just trying to inform, inspire people on things they never knew about. Like there was black guys who built Harleys in the 50s and 60s, and say like the 8-finger handlebars, they came from black guys in California. A lot of people
That's
didn't.
right.
And I had to teach people that. And some people step back and look at it and go, well, is that true? I go, yeah, it's fucking true. Like
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely.
people had to do things, had to use what they had. They didn't have a lot of money in the 60s. And certain motorcycle companies was very racist in some ways in the 60s when they saw all up black people of color coming in and doing things. And when I noticed about your films was you had everybody, and I was surprised to see that you knew more than you knew. And I was like, this dude had like, what did you get? The chosen few? You get Outcast? All these? I didn't know that you would know about these people, because a lot of people here don't know anything, because there's no media, any kind of anything to teach them about.
Yeah.
Big world we in of motorcycles, and I applaud you for that. And
Thank you.
And I definitely want to see this movie about I Hate Ladies. That's a weird title for it.
Yeah.
But the
It's a
woman,
good story. It's an amazing story. It's an empowering story.
the woman about Uganda in Africa, and the way she's treated, she has a motor. That's when that stuck at me last night, and I did the research on you. I said, I gotta see this fucking film. Like I didn't know anything about this,
Mhm.
And that's the same thing as Bessie Stringfield in the 50s, which she's went through. I think you did something like her too. There's a short story about Betsy Stringfield in the 50s, an African American woman who rode her motorcycle from Florida to freaking Brazil or some weird shit like that. In the times of civil rights, that she couldn't stay in hotels, but she decided she's a mission that she's gonna do what she had to do. So it's good that there's guys like you who's putting this stuff out there, and it's just amazing what you're doing. So I'm gonna ask you a question. So this is something I sum up every conversation I have with everybody. What legacy do you think you're leaving when this is all over? You think your daughter will start making films like this, or your sons, or because actually that wasn't your intention, but when you do, Cash, when you do what you're doing, you leaving something, brother. You brought something to the universe that a lot of people never think about. They think about it, but they don't do it. You actually did it. You said a light bulb in your head. I'm going to start a film festival about motorcycles.
That is so super kind of you to say. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. I'm not just saying that. I really appreciate it. I don't think about the legacy part of it, to be honest with you. I definitely don't think about that. This may sound a little bit weird, but I do it for a selfish reason. So let me explain what I mean. There's been a couple of times when during the film festival, I usually hang back at the back of the theater just to make sure everything's working, everything's okay. And sometimes, I'll just look around the audience and I will see people that whoever's sitting around them, where they are is sort of like melted away and they're just sucked into the story. You could just see it in their eyes. I love that. And that's why I do it. Like that feeling, the fact that I guess in some way by me putting this on, I impacted somebody's emotions in this way. I made them connect with some story. That's the reason why I'm doing it. I love that so much. And then the same thing like with the filmmakers, because sometimes we have the filmmakers come to Toronto, we bring them up on stage after the movie. These are just, these are not like Martin Scorsese filmmakers. A lot of them are like just independent filmmakers who've put their heart into making this movie. And now they get to connect with an audience. They get to see the audience react to the movies, laugh and cry sometimes if it's a sad story. And so it impacted their life in some way. And I love that. So that's my selfish reason for doing it, honestly. I'm glad that I have this opportunity to share these stories with people. Hopefully it opens their minds. Hopefully it opens their eyes about other people, other parts of the world. And hopefully it leaves them with something, that will make all of us better people. That sounds so lofty, I don't mean for it to sound like that, but it's I don't know, it's a special feeling.
Actually, I didn't see that at all. I think that you're a genuine human being. I think, talking to you and meeting you a few times it was at events when I saw you, we spoke briefly, but get to know you now and listen to you speak and things you say, you're a genuinely good-hearted human being, which is the world needs more of that shit now. And you want to show the world that you've fallen in love. And let me tell you, and I always say,
yeah,
if you've fallen in love, and let me tell you what I mean by that. There's something that I talk to a lot of my club members a lot younger than me. And I always said to them, they tell you you're unhappy, I says, you need to fall in love. And I'm not talking with other human beings. You need to fall in love with something. I've fallen in love with humanity, trying to make it better. And I see that when I pick up the newspaper every day and I see young men of color misguided, or any man misguided, and they get in trouble, they end up in jail. I do everything I can to possibly start some kind of platform to misdirect them from bullshit. They just don't know. They don't really have anybody to tell them. I've fallen in love with humanity, and a lot of people think I'm crazy for that. But I'm sorry, it's just the world the way it's going today. They need help, especially our youth, our young people. My first love in my life was motorcycles. At 9 years old, anybody who knows me, they would tell you a story. Even guys I grew up with in Chicago, they tell you, says, man, you in love with motorcycles. I love it. Motorcycles, I always loved in art. And as I tried to be a musician. I kind of covered everything. I was in the beauty business and all kind of businesses. I just love making things visual look better. Mm-hmm. as my motorcycle club. Visually, I tried to make it all look better in their hearts. We're a bunch of men in my club and just trying to save some young kids from getting in trouble. That's all we're trying to do. And I try to lead by example myself personally. Bringing on this show too, we have the same like mind. You just do it in film, and you're introducing the world to a bigger world that what they thought it was is it's more to it than that. Motorcycles is one of the best things on the planet, I thought, because if you fall in love with motorcycles, it's gonna love you back. Trust me, it's a fair reason it loves you back. Like I said, I've been through wives and all that shit, but one thing that's ever loved me was motorcycles. And that sounds really crazy, but like I said, I get on that motorcycle and I go down that 401 and the wind hits my face. I remember times I would get up 6 o'clock in the morning when it's hot outside and I just ride by myself. I got no destination where I'm going. I would ride to Kitchener, go to Tim Hortons and come back. I would do that. So I'm going to end this out for us. I just wanted to introduce you and talk about what your mission and what you're doing. I think it's fabulous that you have this Toronto Motorcycle a film festival, which is amazing. It's going to blow up after this podcast shows up. I'm going to tell you that right now. There'll be a lot of people don't even ride motorcycles, want to go to it for the hell of it, because you give Torontonians another something to do and another social network to talk. Because even like going to your festivals, I met so many amazing people there.
Nice.
People who just started riding for 2 weeks and people who's been riding for 20 years. I met all types there and all types of bikes, anywhere from scooters to Harley Davidson. Because we all get it. No matter what you're riding, we get it. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on this podcast. And every once in a while, when you got something going, we can talk and I can put you on. You can talk about it, which
Sounds
is good. And give us even a calendar. Hey, tell me what's going up next. Anything cool that's going up that we should look out for?
Yeah. So March 11th through the 13th, we are going to have a movie online we're premiering called Never Ride Alone. Okay. And it's about this guy who climbed, he's in Peru, he lives in Peru, and he climbed this 17,000 foot mountain on his dirt bike by himself. So wow. Like incredible scenery, unbelievable riding. This guy is on the edge of like losing it in a very bad way in a lot of parts of this movie. It's an awesome story. So we've got that coming up. And then working away at, planning for this year's festival. That's going to happen for sure. And we got a couple of other little things, other little ideas sort of brewing up here. A lot depends on what's going to happen in the world with this whole COVID garbage that's happening now. So we'll see what happens there. But Aaron, I just want to say I thank you a lot. I appreciate you. I really do. I appreciate what you're doing. I got introduced to you via Dan Lim as well. I see all these guys coming in. They got a lot of swagger, and I thought, man, look at these guys. They're so cool, right? And then I started following you online, and I love your message. I love your message a lot, and I wish more people would tune into that. This whole business with like motorcycle clubs and so on. But your message is all about like, just be good, be a good person. Yeah. Really, if I boil it down, for me, that's what jumps out at me from your message. Be a good person, love your brother, love your neighbor. We're all in this together, and you're speaking a lot of truth, and a lot of people maybe they don't want to hear it or they're not ready to hear it. So I appreciate what you're doing. And I thank you for that. And thank you for having.
Thank you again so much. And what is your website? Did you have a website, you think, so people can find out?
Absolutely. The easiest thing is you just go to Google and type in Toronto Motorcycle Film Festival. We'll pop right up there. Great.
Thank you so much. Hey, man, I'd like to have you more. And we're going to keep this conversation going because it's a good conversation. And this podcast is all about positive good to inform and inspire and good conversations. And brother, I love you, brother. And
let's right back at you.
Let's do this again. Okay.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Have a good Sunday.
You too, man.
I just want to thank that brother for coming on my show because he didn't, have to do this. And I guess we're all on the same page, trying to inform and inspire. The Toronto Motorcycle Film Festival is amazing, and if you get a chance, and my American friends, you get a chance to cross that border, and when this is all COVID shit's over with, they come up and see this. Let me tell you something. I was floored when I sat in that. And then one time I went, and one of the reasons for me reaching out, one of the most influential motorcycle clubs in America is called Outcast MC. And the first time I knew about them, but I go to this film festival and I see him playing a film there. I was like, this man knows his business. He's only been around for 3 or 4 years, and he's got one of the most influential motorcycle clubs in America called Outcast MC, showing their film to a bunch of people who are biker enthusiasts who don't know much about motorcycle clubs, but a black motorcycle club, and everybody loved the film. They all left and they got a standing ovation. It was a great documentary. But that's what shows me a lot what kind of character this man is. He's able to teach Torontonians what the hell is going on in the motorcycle world and show them what's going on across the pond. Right, that's good, but not just that film. I mean, I'm going to catch the I Hate Ladies, but the Ugandan woman in Africa. I definitely gonna have to find this film to watch it. I'm gonna do research all day to watch this film because it was very interesting how in Africa how they felt about women riding motorcycles. My name is Chrome. This is Prospect Magazine TV. I hope that was a good thing that we can learn something today, and that's what I do every week. I'm going to try to bring people we can all learn something. I call it prospect because we're all the prospects of life. And that's true. No matter how much and what you think you fucking always gonna learn something different. That's how I look at it. This is Chrome. This is Prospect Magazine. Have an amazing Sunday. Kiss your kids and wear a mask and try to do the right thing in life. Just be honest. Okay. Take care. Good afternoon and God bless. Thank you.